The role of a forensic accountant in the context of a cyber incident is to quantify the loss of profits and extra expense that arise following a cyber event. So part of our role is to bring insurers and policyholders together to go through the process and quantify the losses that have been sustained. So by being engaged early on, we're able to discuss with both policyholders and insurers to understand A, how their business operates in normal times, how that's impacted by an incident, and then we can assess whether there are any mitigation efforts that can be made to reduce the impact of the incident. So part of that means sitting around a table with all parties to see what the costs may be and to see whether the insurance policy will be able to cover that. So by having that early engagement, we're able to kind of see what all the options are on the table and to allow all parties to assess whether these are feasible, and it helps with assessment of the claim further down the line when these conversations happen early on. So for example, a policyholder might be able to outsource production by discussing this early on, discussing it with their insurer to see whether the costs of this are economic, whether the policy will cover that. It means there's no expectations gap later on when a large claim comes through that actually wouldn't fall for cover under the policy, but perhaps a slightly different action might have done. So we were instructed on a claim a few years ago involving a nationwide retailer that suffered a cyber incident, which meant that it was unable to track any stock, take online orders, and manage its pricing systems. The impact of this incident meant that a lot of customers didn't return to these stores because of the interruption that had happened. So once they were back up and running again, the insurer decided to offer vouchers to customers to entice them to come back. Now, strictly speaking, under the specific policy wording, this sort of cost wasn't covered. However, insurers were aware that it was a reasonable action taken by the insured and helped to mitigate further losses which insurers would have been liable to pay. So part of our role was to bring all the parties to the table to get the facts, to get all the relevant data, to ascertain the cost of these promotions, to work out the extent to which they were economic, and there were some challenges there, but we were able to have these open conversations with all parties, and it allowed us to facilitate the progression of the claim, and ultimately was settled lower than what was originally claimed, but within a reasonable tolerance of that.